Let's see if this one starts. What time? Run this out. This one. Yeah, I want to see how it does. What's up, everybody? We'll be getting started in just a few minutes. Actually, 1 minute.
Thank you for watching.
Oh, it is? Perfect. It's kind of dope, though. I didn't know what actually. I tried last time. It didn't work. Yeah, it didn't work out. Oh, yeah. Right. Click that. Check it out. Right. All right, looks like you are. All right.
Yes.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Mental Radar. Today we have a very special guest. You can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Danielle Whitby. It's very nice to meet you.
All right, and once again, I'm Keith McLeod, and this is going to be episode 7 of Mental Radar. It's a special edition, as you can see. You know, we got a very special book here. And, you know, October is the month for breast cancer awareness, for those of you who didn't know. And it's a very prominent problem in our community. So I felt, based on what we're doing here with the lives and, you know, enlightening people's minds, I wanted to take a moment indefinitely, well, actually a whole episode, and dedicate it to that. We will still have a separate topic, which is going to be toxic happiness, but I definitely wanted to bring my friend Danielle on to go ahead and tell her story for you guys, and we'll go ahead and chop it up like we usually do. But I want her to go ahead and get started and share her story with you guys.
All right. So thank you first for having me. Hi, everybody. My name is Danielle. If you do not know me, I am currently 41. But when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was 36. So this happened in 2016. It was something that was really unexpected. I had lumps in my chest before, so I really didn't think that this lump would be any different than any of the other lumps that I had in my chest. I was really surprised when I got the call from the doctor saying that, hey, this is malignant and this is cancer. And they just got me started on everything that I needed to do to take care of myself so I could be prepared to fight breast cancer. So I was diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer, and it was in my right breast. And it was a devastating thing. Like, I was completely shocked. I think my biggest concern was, how am I going to tell my mom?
Right.
You know, how am I going to tell my daughter? And that's kind of how we came up with this book, is talking about how I explained breast cancer to my child. And she was 6 at the time. So, you know, that can be really difficult to explain to them what's going on, all the changes that you're going to go through when you're going through something as serious as cancer. And it's really unpredictable. So you don't really know yourself what's going to happen from moment to moment. But we took the time to document our process, and we put it into our lovely book called Mommy Lost Her Boo. And as we talk along, I will kind of show you how, even through this situation, I had to deal with toxic happiness.
Okay. All right, and I do remember when it happened. It was around the time we went to Mexico, right?
Yep.
Did you find out before or after?
I found out after.
After?
I found out after Mexico. So that was a crazy thing, because, like, life was going really, really well. I was traveling. I was having a good time. I was in a business. Like, things just came to a halt right after. But I can say I had a really amazing 6 months before finding out. And then after, like life just kind of took a turn. And it wasn't a turn for the worse, because I'm still here. So, you know, that's a great thing. But it was definitely something that was unexpected. Definitely a hard fight.
Okay. So I guess we'll jump right into the topic here. I know you said that made you experience toxic happiness. So what's for those who don't understand it, or some people may have never heard that term, what's your definition, or how would you explain toxic happiness?
So toxic happiness is basically feeling like you're not going to ever have any negative feelings or any negative vibes at all. We have these sayings called fake it till you make it, no bad vibes at all. People say good vibes only. And that's just not realistic. That's actually toxic happiness. When you're kind of going through life feeling like I have to be joyful, I have to be optimistic all the time.
Right.
There's this meme that comes to mind when we talk about toxic happiness. It's a picture of a dog, and everything around him is on fire. And he's just like, I'm fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. And I'm like, that's a perfect example of what toxic happiness is.
Right. So I guess from my perspective, I would say toxic happiness is your choice to not acknowledge what's actually happening in your space, whether it be your mental space, your spiritual space, your physical space, any space that you occupy, for you to act like something is okay that it's not. And I don't want people to feel like, okay, you have to look at something and you have to point out the negative and be a negative Nancy, because that's not what we're saying. But you do have to acknowledge what's going on in your space, because you can't overcome what you don't, acknowledge. Like Jay-Z said, you can't heal what you don't reveal. So that's a necessary thing to do. So yeah, thank you for pointing that out. So I guess that's your definition. Well, I guess, how would you say you first realized that you were dealing with that toxic happiness?
So even my name on like social media, on Instagram, is like Optimistic Danny.
Okay.
So when I was going through my journey and I'm sharing it with everybody, I'm sharing that, hey guys, I'm okay, I'm doing all right, I'm fighting the hardest I can, and I'm allowing people just to see that, hey, I'm happy, I'm joyous, and it's all pink and pretty, and it wasn't. When I got offline, or even, not even so much as my persona online, because I'm genuinely an optimistic person,
Right.
but I genuinely had moments of absolute fear, absolute terror, like I have no idea what's going on with me, I don't feel well, and I realized that I was just so focused on being okay and showing a positive front, and when there were really some days I'm just like, I'm terrified. I don't know what's going to happen to me. I'm constantly worried about if cancer's going to come back, but to everybody else, I'm like, hey, I'm doing so great, I'm fighting so hard, and I wasn't showing them the genuine feelings that I was feeling throughout the journey. So yes, I've had moments of happiness, but I literally had moments where I'm like, okay, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this. I don't want to get up this morning. I don't want to push through this. I don't want to fight anymore. And you feel like you can't show that side of yourself. And I'm like, well, I'm still drowning here. I'm being positive, but I'm literally still drowning and having these unspoken fears and things that I'm not sharing with everybody.
Right.
So then I realized, I'm like, nope, we're going to start talking about all of it. So get on camera and cry.
Gotcha.
Because you're upset, you're sad. We're going to show these tears.
Gotcha. And how did you come to that conclusion? Like, was it a diagnosis, or was it something that you realized within yourself? Or, like, when did you point it that it was toxic happiness?
Not even so much a diagnosis. I guess I just came to that realization myself, talking to a friend, and they're like, are you really okay?
Okay.
They're like, are you really okay? She was like, my friend Michelle, she was like, Danny, I'm concerned because I see you pushing through, but are you really okay? And I'm like, no.
Right.
No, in all honesty, I'm not. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be able to fight, but no. All of this uncertainty, I lost my hair, I lost my right breast, I had all these scars, and it created a lot of unknowns. And unknowns can be very, very scary, and you don't really know how to approach something that's unknown, but it's like, I can at least be honest about the fact that I'm afraid of not knowing what's going to happen next.
Okay. So, what was the hardest part of that? Honestly, like, was it the toxic happiness, or was it not being okay, or like, what was the most difficult thing?
The being transparent part was the hardest part. Really saying, you know what, I'm going to get on and let people know that I am having a hard time some days.
Right.
Being just that honest, even with myself, was hard. Like, yeah, you got to push through, but this sucks, and you're upset.
Right.
And I mean, there are situations inside of my life outside of cancer that I realized, whoa, you did that in this situation too. You kind of faked it till you made it, or like, hey, I'm doing okay, and you really weren't doing okay. I'm sure a lot of us have been through breakups, and I remember going through a breakup and thinking I was okay, and didn't even realize I was depressed. Had no idea that I was depressed because I was literally doing everything I had to do. But in doing everything I had to do, I wasn't living life. I wasn't enjoying life. I was literally just doing what I was responsible for doing, and that was it.
Right.
Outside of that, I was trying to be sleep. You know, I was trying my best to stay busy, so I wouldn't even think about the sadness that I was feeling, or feeling of being overwhelmed and having a new baby and being single and all this other stuff, and still having to maintain life.
Okay.
When you're feeling all these things, and I'm like, nope, I'm good. I'm all right. I'm fine. And then life changed and started to shift, and I started having more fun, and I'm like, oh, you were depressed because you literally only went to doctor's appointments unless I had to. It wasn't like no regular follow-ups or anything like that. It was like, nope, I hurt myself. Let me go to the doctors. Oh, I'm doing this, so let me go take care of this. But it was never, are you really just going out having a good time? Are you really enjoying life right now? The answer was no. But if I look back on it, probably nobody would have known.
Yeah. That's tough, and you know, I commend you for even making it through that. Like, that sounds like a crazy situation to have to experience. I mean, to reflect on my own experience with toxic happiness, I'll go in the vault
Okay.
and share, you know, something that's, you know, really personal to me. But it was definitely when I lost my dad, which when I was 10 years old, actually. And going through that actual process, I really didn't feel like I had time to identify with my own feelings or to worry about any negativity, because I'm a pretty optimistic person too. And, you know, as a child, it was other people dealing with way more things than I was dealing with.
Right.
So as a child, I felt like, you know, my feelings aren't that important. Everything's going to be okay. I'm going to be all right. But, you know, if you guys have been watching, you know, these shows on a previous episode I've referenced, where I used to fight a lot in school. And that was really the root of it. It was because, you know, I was pretending to be happy when I wasn't. I probably needed to talk to somebody.
Right.
You know, to be honest with it. So, I mean, that's an example of it. And, you know, I'm sure through both of these situations, it's probably something you guys can relate to. But, you know, since I'm talking about when I was a child, I guess I'd like to swing it back and ask you, how was the process dealing with your daughter and with sharing this and coming up with the book and all of those things?
So with her, it was conversation. So it was just our conversation that we were having. I tried my best to explain to her everything that I was getting ready to go through from as far as I could tell. So I lost my hair completely bald, cue ball, and I've always had a lot of hair on my head. So it was a really strange and odd thing for me. And I'm like, my daughter is going to look at me like I am crazy, because not only did I lose my hair, I lost my eyebrows and my eyelashes. Now, my little kid, she's silly. I love her. And she just laughs. We just had a good laugh about it, and Mommy, your eyebrows are gone. Are they going to come back? And we kind of made light of the situation.
Okay.
But I still made space for her to talk to me or her grandmother or any of my other family members, so she could actually get her feelings out as well if this was really troubling her. But I think that I framed it in such a way where she didn't see me sad or upset, that it didn't really bother her. And it was actually maybe 2 years later that we were listening to the radio and they were talking about people passing away from cancer. And she looked at me, she was like, you could have died? I was like,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I could have passed away. She was just like, oh. And she had a minute to think about that. But when I was going through it, I'm like, we're not going to talk about that. If she bring it up, I'll talk to her about it. But if she don't bring it up, we're not going to talk about it, because I don't want her to have to worry about me and my well-being, because she's a kid.
Right.
You know, she was compassionate. She was helpful during the process. You know, she could bring me my food and sit with me while I was eating, or, you know, just cuddle with me, give me that time. Or she understood that I couldn't go everywhere, or that I needed to take a nap or something like that. So she was very understanding during the process. And the book kind of just shares, you know, us talking about definitions and what Mommy went through and how she actually took everything. So it's her, in her words, sharing what her mother went through, so other kids can understand if their parents happen to go through it and don't have the right words to say.
Gotcha. Well, kudos to you.
Thank you.
Like, that's amazing that she didn't even know. Like, the fact that she had to hear that you could, you know, pass away from it on the radios. crazy. Like,
Yeah.
amazing job to you for that.
Thank you. I mean, there really are some times where you have to distract yourself from what's going on, but you have to make sure that you are still in tune with the fact that you're actually going through it. So it's okay to be like, you know what, I am really sad right now, but I'm not in a time or space where I can show it. So if I'm at work, I can't really break down and be like, oh my goodness.
Right.
I gotta pull myself together so I get to a space where I can do it. Or you excuse yourself so you can take that minute to pull yourself together. I recently just lost a friend of mine to ovarian cancer.
Oh, wow.
And that was last month. So September is ovarian cancer month. Shout out to Shantae. But she helped me during my journey, and then she got cancer, and then she beat cancer, and then it came back, and it was super aggressive, and it was just like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay because she's not okay, but when I talked to her, I was okay.
Right.
When I got off the phone with her, I was not okay.
So you were strong for her?
Yes.
I get it.
And that definitely happens, but I could admit and talk to other people outside of her, saying, hey, I'm not doing well with this. Like,
yeah. And I mean, that's the importance of having a tribe, like a loyal tribe.
Absolutely.
And, you know, people that actually listen, people that just listen with, you know, not expecting anything in return and are genuinely there for you when you need them, you know. I think that's important as well.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you had that support system to lean on.
You gotta have people in your circle who you can really be your vulnerable self with. And just be like, hey, today I am not doing well. No, I don't think this is going to last forever, but today I am falling apart. You know, can you listen to me? Can you sit here broken with me? Can you help me pick up the pieces if I need it? But having that support system is really, really helpful.
Yeah, so basically you had people that you were able to be authentic self with in those moments. And, you know, that's good. That's very powerful. Like, I'm impressed. Just because, like, in our community,
right, it's
rare.
So much.
It's so
really,
much.
Really
you gotta just be tough. You gotta put on the front. You're not allowed to be. Yeah, you're not allowed to really be authentically yourself. So the fact that you were able to attract the tribe to you to help you get through this space, and the fact that you've been able to put out, you know, this material to help other people that may just be beginning this process, or even children that can't understand it, like, I think it's truly blessing.
Thank
so,
you.
Yeah. So was it your idea, or was it your daughter's idea for the book?
It was actually my idea. Just I was like, I need to write this stuff down. Just all the things that she was saying. So I literally had my breast removed, completely removed. You can go through a couple different processes when it comes to having a mastectomy. And I was like, no, take this whole thing away from me because it tried to kill me. So I want it gone.
Right.
And just her response, like, Mommy, is it going to come back? Is it going to grow back? And I'm like, no, it doesn't happen that way, baby. So I realized if my little girl doesn't really understand what happens, there's somebody else's child who don't understand what happens. And they need to be able to digest this in a way that they can understand. My friend Caitlin, who did pass away, she actually had me going on like speaking events and things like that. So I was speaking to little kids, and the way that they could identify with this story was like amazing to me, because it was just like, yeah, I remember when Uncle such and such went through this, or Aunt such and such went through this, and I didn't know what was going on with them, and this kind of helped me understand what they were going through. And I'm like, oh wow, okay. So sharing is a really good thing if you do it in the right way.
So you had more like an aha moment where you're like, oh wow, this is really impactful.
Yes.
You know,
absolutely.
I guess during the process maybe you might have some doubts or.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as optimistic as I am, we all have our like, ooh, imposter syndrome. It's like, I don't know if this is good enough. I don't know if this is going to be something that people are going to actually like and get something from. And when you get that feedback of, no, people identify with what you're going through, it's like, oh, okay. I honestly do feel like that toxic happiness is probably one of the leading reasons that a lot of people go through suicide as well, because they feel like they have to put up this front and they don't have anybody they can be their authentic self with.
Right.
So they go through life, Robin Williams kind of come through mind, making everybody else laugh and have a good time, and you have no idea what's going on inside of them and that they're really struggling inside. And then if you actually take the time to open up, go get counseling, get a life coach, and you'll realize that you're not the only person in the world that's going through this situation.
Exactly.
And then you can actually get the skills and the tools that you need to kind of help you push through. I know my background in psychology helped me with that as well. Because I'm like, oh, I know how to deal with my emotions, but I still didn't even realize that, hey, I was kind of faking it. Like, oh, let me be hey, I'm doing fine, everything is good, I'm fighting, yeah. And really like, nope, I'm sick, I can't eat, food tastes like metal, I can't smell things, like my taste is gone, my touch is gone, like I don't know what's going to happen to my future. And just saying, you know what, all of these things are really scary and it's okay. And today, I'm really afraid, or today I'm really sad, or today I'm really tired. I don't feel like pushing through it, and saying that that's okay as well.
Right. So yeah, like I said, once again, kudos. Because and I guess the psychology background really helps, because most people probably wouldn't even think with that. It's just so many levels to it. I do want to kind of go back to what you said about, Robin Williams, and really just thinking about how much we don't know what's going on in people's lives, why it's important to, just because, especially in the age of social media, where people just posting the good, amazing things that are happening in their life, to really take the time and check on your friends. Like, are you okay? Like, for real.
Right.
And that's super important.
And if you are that strong friend, be honest with people. Tell them you're not okay. If somebody really reaches out to you and like, hey, genuinely, are you okay? You need to let them know that, nah, I'm not. I'm going through something that's hard for me. Even if you don't want to tell them exactly what it is, there's still things that you can tell people to kind of help them get along. That was another thing too that happened during my diagnosis is people would say certain things just kind of smooth things over, and I'm like, well, that's not really what I need to hear right now.
Yeah.
And they try to put a big Band-Aid over an open wound.
Right.
So that can lead to toxic happiness too. You'll fake it because you don't want people just saying any random thing to you. And a lot of times we'll address our friends with that. We'll be like, oh, just pray about it, and it's a lot deeper than it. They need a little bit more than prayer. They may really need your ear. They may really need to seek counseling.
Right.
And it goes a lot deeper than just pray about it or just be positive or just think positive. Because sometimes that switch doesn't just click.
Exactly.
If you're in a dark space, it doesn't just come on like, oh, let me think about the best thing. No. Right now I'm in a bad space and I need somebody to sit with me in that space and help me navigate my way out.
Understood. So let's talk a little bit about your healing process. Like, by that point, were you still dealing in toxic happiness, or had you overcome it, or?
It's an ongoing thing because it can kind of sneak up on you from time to time, and it's just realizing that it's okay to not be okay as long as you're not allowing it to stick. So you have your days where you may be sad or depressed. So my journey with cancer isn't over. I still actively take medication daily. I get a shot monthly, and I worry about reoccurrence all the time. So I have to kind of stay on top of that on a daily basis. And honestly, every movie now, if somebody's sick in a movie, they got cancer. This time of month, you hear about cancer a lot.
Right.
Because I've had cancer, I have a lot of friends who also have had cancer. So when reoccurrence happens in their life, I have to worry about it triggering me and affecting me.
Right.
And taking that time to be like, okay, look, this is them. This isn't you. How are you feeling about this? Is it making you afraid? Okay, yes. Why? Because you're afraid that it's going to come back into your life as well. And you can try to deny it, and it's really not helpful to do that. You have to be really say, you know what, on a day-by-day basis, let me check in with myself. Am I really okay today? Okay, this happened. How am I feeling about that?
Gotcha.
One of my friend passed away. I could not bring myself to do certain things during that time period because I was just like, I can't handle it right now. I'm not in a space to go live. I'm not in a space to kind of talk about what she's going through right now because I'm going to be on screen literally bawling my eyes out, and it's not going to be helpful for me or anybody else. And I'm not saying don't show your emotion because it's okay to show your emotion. I know I did a libation on live for her and other people who passed away from cancer, and I probably shed a tear. But if it's something where I know I'm going to be boo-hoo crying, I'm like, nope, that's not for me today. I can't traumatize somebody else because of how I'm feeling, but I can still show people that, hey, I genuinely have sorrow. I'm genuinely not feeling all that well, but if I can't keep it together, it's probably not the best time to share.
Gotcha. So another question I wanted to ask. So in the process of overcoming the toxic happiness, like how did you feel? How did that affect your energy and spirit? Did it help, or talk a little about that?
It actually helps a lot because it's like a breath of fresh air. You're like, oh, wait a minute. I can genuinely be in my body right now. I can genuinely feel how I want to feel, and people are still going to receive me. They're not going to be like, oh, I can't be around you because you're feeling bad, it actually allows your friends to step up and be a friend
Right.
to you. If you're honest about how you feel, and then you can genuinely feel the care and maybe even start thinking about things in a way that you weren't before because your friends kind of added a little bit to the conversation. They gave you something different to think about. I'm like, well, yeah, you know what? How about all the times you did fight? How about all the times you were doing, okay? How about all the millions of people who are still here? Yeah, you're afraid that you're not going to be here, but what about the people who are still here? They
Right.
have 5 or 6, 10, 20, 25 years, 30 years cancer free. So we can't just focus on the people who passed away from cancer. And your friendships and your colleagues can tell you those things if you open up to them about it, so they can help you shift your perspective a little bit. So it was really freeing because like I don't have to be this optimistic, put together person all the time. And social media make you feel like it.
Right.
Makes you feel like you have to be put together. I gotta show everybody my highlight reels. I can't show them the part that was hard. And then you just wind up living this fake life, and you feel like I gotta put on this persona, and I can't be me.
Exactly. Like you almost, just like you said, you live in a movie, but only on TV.
Right.
When you go home, those problems are still there.
Absolutely.
And it's super unhealthy to live your life in that manner, to where you're not sharing what's actually going on,
Right.
putting on the front, and it's like, why? Like, and those are the things that, like you said earlier, lead to suicide or suicide attempts or things like that. When you're really just not focusing on what's important, yourself, your thoughts,
Absolutely.
because your thoughts become things. Your process is important. How you see things, how you perceive things. Perception is absolutely everything. So super important to, like you said, just make sure you have your tribe around you. If not, make sure you reach out to someone that can help you, whether it be a coach, a counselor, a therapist, whatever you need,
Right.
whatever you feel comfortable with, and whatever's going to help you get through your process. And
When you're talking to people about like toxic happiness, how do you help them through it? Or what's something that you would tell them to kind of help them kind of lead through?
right, lead through it. So for me, when I'm speaking to a person about toxic happiness, the number one thing is for me to tell them to identify what's really going on within themselves. It's like, well, why are you doing this?
Right.
What do you need to overcome? What are you hiding? And then typically, they'll tell me, I don't have a set answer for each specific person because
Absolutely.
everybody's different, but it always starts with a question. And the first question is, all right, well, how does this make you feel?
Right.
And a lot of times it takes time to get through to it because people, they don't even feel comfortable telling me.
Right.
Like when, you're really just trying to get to what a person's dealing with, you got to ask the same question in
Right.
different ways, multiple ways, and then sometimes I can piece it together and then kind of say, well, is it this?
Right.
And then we can dive deeper. But, that may take a whole session, just uncovering, the basis of the problem.
Yeah.
And, and that's fine for the first session because some people don't even realize that that's what they're dealing with. Because no one would probably come and say, hey, I'm dealing with toxic happiness. They'll be like,
Right.
well, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling that way. I'm feeling more so depressed.
Right.
That's probably the most common toxic happiness attribute is people being depressed. Yeah. But yeah, thank you for that question.
No
That's
problem.
that's a really great thing. And as we go there, it gets to the next point, which is, as a person that is kind of versed in this topic, what are some tips, some tidbits that you would give people that are watching to help deal with toxic happiness if they feel like they're experiencing that right now?
All right. So one, if you're a friend of somebody who's experiencing toxic happiness, make sure that your friendship is a safe space. Make sure that if they do feel comfortable coming to you, that they can trust that you're not going to go tell their business anywhere else, that you're not going to joke on them for coming to you and being very, very vulnerable. I know females kind of have a cushion because we tend to talk about our feelings like this, but men also, they need to know that, hey, I have a safe space in my brother to come and talk to him about what's really going on with me. I'm really
Right.
hurt through something, and I need him not to joke me because I'm not going to feel comfortable talking to him if he does that. So really creating a safe space for those who are willing to talk to you about where they are and be honest and vulnerable about them not feeling good. If you are the person who's dealing with toxic happiness, be transparent. First, be honest with yourself. You have to tell yourself the truth. If you don't tell nobody else in the world the truth, be honest with yourself and be like, hey, this situation really got me. I can't go and be like, nah, I'm a G, I'm a thug, I can handle it. No, you're crying, you're upset because you notice your behaviors change. And that's one of the first indicators is that your behaviors are changing. You're not normally your authentic, happy self. the things that make you happy generally don't make you happy right now because you're going through something. And if you can't be honest about, hey, I'm in a different space. I used to have genuine joy. I used to laugh and be all giddy, and now I'm kind of just like, let me stay to myself and let me be by myself. That's a behavior change, and that's an indicator that something is not right. So why did this change? Why am I feeling like this? Why am I not talking to people anymore? You know, what am I really going through? Is this something I really should be sad about? And truthfully answer those questions will let you in on whether or not you're dealing with toxic happiness or not. Are you really just trying to put a Band-Aid over a wound? Are you going through one of the worst things in your life right now and you're still smiling, telling everybody you're fine? And you're really not. Stop. Don't do that. Pick and choose who you're going to tell to. You don't got to tell the world. You don't have to go on Facebook or Instagram bragging that you're having a bad time. You know, but you can tell people, hey, today is really not a good day. Shoot up a prayer for me. Send me extra love today. I'm not really feeling well. And if you don't want to explain to them what's going on, don't. But just knowing that somebody has these extra positive thoughts kind of coming your way may be helpful to you. But being super honest with yourself is going to be one of those first steps to saying, hey, I'm dealing with toxic positivity. Toxic happiness, I'm sorry. And then once you realize you are dealing with toxic happiness, do your best to be authentic. Feel what you feel. Realize it's okay to not be okay. And go get help. So if you need counseling, really, call a counselor. Have a professional talk to you and help you work through the plan. A counselor is way different than talking to your friends because they're going to help you figure out a plan to feel better. They're going to have tools and tricks and things to help you realize, well, this is what I need to work through and go through so I can actually feel better. Your friends can give you a listening ear, and sometimes that compassion is helpful,
Right.
but it might not help you solve your problems. So that's why you need to bring in a counselor sometimes. But there are very real situations where talking to a really good, insightful friend can kind of help you overcome the toxic happiness.
Okay. Well, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah, a tip I would give is, like you said, I mean, it always starts with you. It always starts with how you're thinking, and really just take time to do your self-care.
Yes.
Like, that's that one. And, you know, I feel like I want to speak on this because so many people don't do self-care, or they'll look at self-care and say, okay, I went and got my nails done, I got a pedicure,
Right.
boom, I'm good. Those things are amazing, but the true idea and the true thought process of having self-care is putting yourself first. So what that means is when you wake up, taking time to say what you're grateful for, taking time to identify how you're feeling. How am I today? Am I okay? And, you know, working through these things because we're human.
Yes.
You know, we're all people, and we all go through different things every single day. Every day is not going to be sunny. Like you said, if you think
Right.
that, you're probably dealing with toxic happiness. But every day is something that you can overcome. And every day is something where you can shift the energy into a positive space.
Absolutely.
So that would be my number one tip is just do your self-care. And for me, my personal self-care is when I wake up, like I said, I go through my goals, I go through my affirmations, I go work out, I have my water, and then when I come back, you know, I'll do my meditation. And then after that, I'm ready to deal with the day. So even my friends, y'all know, like if you call me before a certain time, it's like, don't call Keith. You're not going to get through till like 10
Right.
o'clock because, you know, I got to put me first.
Yeah.
Especially in the space that I'm in and around with helping people. Like, I got to
Absolutely.
help myself in order to help others. You can't pour from an empty cup, something I always say. So, yeah, I mean, that would be my thing. Just make sure what your self-care regimen is, that you take time and you do it before work, really before work, because you got to start with you. If you don't, your day is not going to go the way you would like it to go. So that would be my number one tip on that. And we'll go ahead and get ready to wrap it up. And did you have anything else you wanted
this
to
has
add
been
to it?
Awesome. Really, guys, if you are dealing with toxic happiness, you know, reach out, message either me or Keith. We can push you in the right direction. So you don't feel this way anymore. You deserve to be your authentic self. You deserve to be able to acknowledge everything that you're feeling whenever you're feeling it and have a safe place to do that. So we can put you in that right direction if you ever feeling that way.
Awesome. And for those who do want to check out this book, you know, it looks awesome.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
It's called Mommy Lost Her Boo.
Yeah.
You can definitely find it on Amazon, or you can inbox me and I can get you one personally and sign it, because I do have some on hand. But definitely check it out. And you know, this month, hug a survivor. You know, tell somebody who you know who's a survivor. Or honestly, we're all survivors of something.
Absolutely.
You know, tell somebody that you're proud of them. Tell somebody, you know, that you love and you care for them, and that can help them as well.
Okay. And how can the people reach you? What's your Facebook
Um,
name?
so on Facebook, you can reach me at Danielle Whitby. On Instagram, it is Optimistic Danny, or you can also reach me on my page, Survive Tribe.
Okay. Awesome. And once again, you know, for me, you can reach out Keith, the Life Coach McLeod. That's my Facebook. On Instagram, you can check out our business page, which is life_changers_LLC. And for those of you, because I know you mentioned it earlier, who have friends who might need to see this information that aren't necessarily on Instagram or Facebook, maybe they don't do social media, we do have a YouTube link. So there's a YouTube page. It's just called Life Changers LLC. You can look it up. All of the episodes of Mental Radar is there, and we will be adding some additional content just to help out with people, because, you know, the goal here is to really help and shift our community in the way we view mental health awareness and everything that comes in that umbrella. Okay? All right. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. I know it's Saturday. Go have a good time. Enjoy yourself. Don't get the vid.
Right.
And y'all take care.